Welcome to your Daily 5 for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. I ended up watching two movies this week that I'm going to review on Friday, and I really only intended to watch one, the film I'm going to be talking about today. But then when I got to the end of the movie, and this may sound like a negative at first, but it really is not, once I got to the end of this film, I realized that I probably wasn't going to have a lot to say about it because while it's an exceptionally good example of a film noir tale, it's also a pretty familiar example of film noir. And what I'm talking about is 1948's They Live by Night. This was added to Criterion Channel's Holiday Noir list. And, as I always do with Criterion Channel, I kind of scroll through. I look at what the films are. I look at what the stories are. And I look for one that just kind of catches my interest for some reason. And this one, for whatever reason, grabbed me. I really don't know what it was about it, but I saw something. I looked at the picture. I went, okay, I'm going to watch this one. And there is one thing that is, and I didn't know this going into it, and I will mention this again on Friday, so prepare to hear this fact repeated. But I did not realize at the time that this is, by all accounts, the first film where a helicopter was used to film an action scene. In fact, the very first scene of the film. I didn't know that going in, but I did think it was unusual to have a helicopter. I just didn't realize this was the first movie where they'd used helicopters before, but not for an action sequence. And the movie's story is, again, pretty straightforward as far as a noir tale. It's basically about two individuals, a man and a woman, who are both at unhappy places in their lives, who come across each other because of a random event and try to have a life together, and they do it against what end up being insurmountable odds. And normally I don't spoil films, but I think a movie that is now 75 years old, I'm not going to worry about it too much. This is definitely a case where they talk about Bonnie and Clyde movies, and that's sort of what this is, but I don't think that's necessarily accurate because the Bonnie and Clyde stories are usually where both the man and the woman are criminals, and that's not the case in this one. In this case, the man is the criminal, and the woman is she's just not happy where she is, and they have this spark together, and there's a moment where it seems like maybe he will be able to escape his past and what he's been doing, and they'll actually be able to have a happy life together, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work out that way. But it is, as films of this era usually are, what makes it worth watching is, number one, the cinematography. It's just a beautiful film. There is something I'm coming to more and more appreciate about black and white. Not that I ever had a problem with black and white, but I am now noticing more when things are just beautifully shot in black and white. And there is a power to a lack of color. It really does emphasize the way the lighting's done. It emphasizes a lot of things that once you notice them are hard to not see that in a modern film just aren't as important. Not because they're not good, but because now there's lots of other things, especially in an age of HDR and 4K, where colors are beautiful and blooming and with a wide range that never used to exist. There's kind of a two sides of the way of looking at films like this, where you look at these old black and white films and the really well-shot ones have this power that color just can't possibly match, and on the other side, there are times where color is such a wonderful emphasis to a movie that it would never have worked in black and white. I still go back and forth on the Fury Road thing where George Miller wanted that to be in black and white. And I don't know that it would work without the color that it has. But, that's a debatable point. And the other thing is, besides the cinematography, the performances. That's really what overcomes a lot in these older movies where you don't have a lot of effects, where you don't have color, where, this filmmaking was still at a somewhat rough stage, but the people in these movies, they have to carry most of the film. That's what they're doing. And everybody in this is uniformly great. And that's really the combination of the fact that this is a very well shot black and white film, along with the actors doing just exceptional work across the board. That's what elevates it. And so I understand why, even though, again, this is a traditional Bonnie and Clyde story to some degree, this does stand above most of the other ones that I've seen because it is beautifully shot, which is one of the things that gets attributed to it, that it has this really wonderful look, and that there was they call it experimental. Of course, for today's experimental, it's not quite the same, but people weren't necessarily shooting movies like this at this time, and that makes it something exceptional. And then the performances. So, if you can tolerate black and white, if you like noir films and you've never seen this one, you probably should, because it's, like I said, it is a cut above movies that basically have the same story. So again, 1948's They Live by Night. I watched it on Criterion. I'll look by the Friday show to see if it's anywhere else. If you've never seen it, you like noir, you should check it out. Later.